near enough, bang in the centre of Banbury. It's a little bit out of town, of course, but it has brought so much history to this part of the world throughout the last 4 decades. Whether you're a rallying fan, whether you're a world sports car fan, whether you're a touring car fan, they've kind of dealt with everything, and we really do appreciate you coming out in this unpredictable weather to celebrate it with us. My name's Jonny, and I'm delighted to say that it's not just me that you'll have to listen to. We've got some very special guests also who have driven these cars through the years, or indeed co-driven them in the case of Phil Mills later on. But also, to help me interview these stars, is a star in his own right, you could say. If you're a fan of Radio Le Mans, you'll know all about Mr. John Hindhaugh. Please give him a big warm welcome to the stage. Here's John.
Thank you, Jonny. Good afternoon, everybody. Good afternoon, Banbury. How are you? Are you feeling good? It's going to be a tough crowd, JP.
I think it is.
Are you feeling good? Are we ready to properly celebrate 40 glorious years of Prodrive? I know it's damp. I'm just trying to keep you warm, really. Will you join Jonny and I in welcoming to the stage some proper legends? First of all, Mr. David Brabham. Come on, Brabs. And we've got Jonny Adam and Darren Turner. All well dressed. Darren, you might need to grab a mic from JP there. JP and I will stand out of the way so that you guys edge along a bit, because everybody wants photographs of you and not me and JP. Let's start at this end. DT, Darren Turner. First of all, how are you? I haven't seen you for a little while.
I'm great, absolutely. Yeah, loving it. It's nice to be at home for the weekend and not far away. I only live up in Stratford, so came through this awful weather here, but I'm glad it's all cleared up now.
It's just a bit of drizzle, Thank goodness your skin's waterproof, otherwise, you'd soak the bath up when you sat in it, wouldn't you? How long have you been with Prodrive then, DT?
I had a little count this morning because I was a little bit unaware. So yeah, my first gig with Prodrive was 2003 when it was the Ferrari GT1 car. So I was driving for Velox at that time in GT2, and there was a cross deal that meant that we did a couple of races with the GT1 car, the 550, and then I've not left since. So I've managed to stay there for that length of time. So yeah, 22 years I've been with Prodrive. And,
so more than half of the company's existence.
Yeah, I never thought of it like that. Yeah, but it seems to have gone very quickly, and majority of that's been with the Aston Martin. Obviously 2 years with the 550 Ferrari, and then ever since with what Aston Martin's been doing with Prodrive.
We'll talk about that in detail in a moment. Jonny Adam stands in the middle. Hello, Jonny, how are you?
Very well, yeah. Obviously, unfortunately, the weather's not good for us, but nice to celebrate, obviously, 40 years for Prodrive.
And I'll ask you the same question. When did you come across the legend that is the Banbury behemoth of Prodrive?
2011 is when I raced with Andrew Howard in Beechteen, and in 2012 Andrew ran his car in-house with Prodrive, and since then I've been with Prodrive. So yeah, I've seen cars develop as the seasons go on, and obviously what Prodrive do on track is absolutely amazing, with safety, development, and obviously success with customers all across the world.
Brabs, when did you come into the Prodrive fold, first of all?
Well, first of all, just say thanks for all coming out, and congratulations to Prodrive on 40 years.
Spot on.
It's amazing. Yeah, hands for everyone. For me, 2003 actually, just probably a few races before Darren turned up. So I was racing in America in the American Le Mans Series, as you know well. I was in the Bentley program, but then I got asked to go and join Prodrive over there in the Ferrari 550. With Jan Magnussen, and we started round 3 of the championship. Darren joined us because Jan was racing in Denmark at the same time, and there was a clash, and then we had a very great start, didn't we? We won the race, we got pole, and and we had success after that with the Aston Martin program back in 2005, 6, 7 and 8. Yeah.
I think, David, you're in a good position to answer this question, although I'll ask the other lads as well. What is it that is distinctively different about Prodrive? I think, first of all, people don't realise how big it is, so I know that that is part of it. But you already had a significant amount of experience in motorsport before you ended up there in the early 2000s as part of Prodrive. What struck you when you first came to that program?
I think the level of professionalism was definitely at a very good level for that type of racing. When you look at the people, the infrastructure behind it, it wasn't as big as what it is now. It was a bit smaller back then, certainly in the GT world. The rally world was obviously well mature at that point, but a lot of that crossover expertise was definitely there. A passion for racing, racers at heart, and that pure desire to win, which, you know, through that period of, you know, certainly with the Aston program up against General Motors, we were tiny in comparison. Even with the Ferrari 550 when we were racing, we were even smaller then. So, and we managed.
That wasn't a Ferrari program, was it? Effectively, there was.
It was Prodrive run.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was pretty. Yeah, it was a pretty good.
But Maranello didn't get involved in.
No,
that.
they didn't.
That all
no,
came from
no.
Banbury. Yeah.
No, so they were very much behind the project and raced it, and I thoroughly enjoyed my time with Prodrive because, one, we were successful, but also the group, it was a small group, but it punched well above its weight.
What do you remember, DT, about those early years teaming up with Brabs and going against the might of the big factory teams?
I think it goes back to the sort of the David and Goliath type environment where always punching above their weight in terms of a team. And that race that David was talking about, the Miami race, first time I sort of shared a car with David, and you know, to be in the backyard of Corvette and to be able to take the challenge to them and to beat them was always a significant part of GT1 racing at the time. So yeah, I have to say that the team's grown hugely during the 22 years that I've been with them, and I think the backbone of it is very much with David Richards, his enthusiasm for doing the best that they possibly can with what is available, and maximising it all the time. Everything is maximised in terms of performance and the ability to always have a chance of winning. So from that point of view, it's been a team that I've learned a great deal from. You know, I've been with other teams, and you sort of go to other teams quite often and you're like, there's bits missing. But when you're with Prodrive, it's always felt like a works team, a works outfit. Whether they've always had the support, like the Ferrari era, that wasn't supported by Ferrari. But if you look at the history of Ferrari's racing, it's significant, that GT1 car, and it's a fan favourite, and the same for everything that we've done with the Aston Martins.
I suspect we wouldn't have had the GTE and now the 296 from Ferrari had that programme not happened and been successful and put Ferrari back on the world stage in GT racing. Jonny, Adam, what did you know of Prodrive when you came to them? It was a little bit later. You'd already been working your way through motorsports. Do you remember them in, for example, their touring car days, or was that a little bit early for you?
No, I obviously remember the Mondeo days, obviously Super 2000 days, and the success that Prodrive had with Ford back then as well. But also the dedication and the time they put into developing cars and people as well. You know, over 12 years I've seen so many junior engineers, mechanics that have now gone on to senior roles within Prodrive, whether that's a Le Mans win, a World Championship win, and that is where I think Prodrive are very good, you know, developing young talent that can go on and be as successful as they want to be, really. And through that, the cars become very safe, easy to drive, well developed, because the passion from these people gets put back into the cars, you know. And that's from the Aston side. You can see that from Dakar, from Rally as well. But the passion to win is there, and you know, as a business, the success they've had on track is definitely at the forefront to anyone else.
You make a couple of very good points there, Mr. Adam, because continuity is something that we don't often talk about in motor racing, but having been around for a little while, like the two either side of you, I see the same faces, a lot of the same faces on the pit wall in the garage down through the years with Prodrive. You three have got huge experience. You came in sort of from the customer side, and that's the other side of Prodrive that's also been so successful. because they have been able to service customers with the infrastructure, with the support, whether that was technical or parts, down through the years. And again, that doesn't happen by accident and not overnight either.
No, and it's a massive part of GT racing just now. You know, now at Le Mans and the World Endurance Championship level, it is customer racing, and Prodrive have always dedicated time, investment to their customers. You know, and whether it's a new car they need to build quickly for a customer, whether it was a crash they had the following weekend, or parts supply, support, they've always done that part extremely well. And I think that's where we have customers that come back every single year. Andrew Howard, for example, from Beechstein, has been involved with Aston and Prodrive for 10 to 15 years, you know, over a period with different models of cars. So keeping that going is definitely puts Prodrive right at the front of customer racing, which is definitely very important to Aston Martin.
And when Jonny talks about cars that are easy to drive, obviously he is talking about people with skill, and also they've got a set of cars for people who don't drive them very often, particularly in the customer ranks, and it's a job that all three of these drivers do very well. I got the chance a few years ago to jump into a car, Monte Blanco, that Jonny had set up. First time I'd driven a GT3 car, first time I'd been at the track, and I got on with it really well, thanks to the hard work that these guys put in. I want to talk about rivalries, gentlemen. I am going to ask you about your best memories with Prodrive in a moment, so start that ticking round your head. I want to talk about rivalries because with Brabs and Darren Turner here, we've got to talk about that Aston Corvette rivalry at Le Mans. It was intense on the track, but Darren, there was a huge amount, is still a huge amount of respect. Where did that all get started from?
I don't know, to be fair. I think I just followed what the older guys were doing in terms of they seemed to like the Corvette guys and racing against them. And I think it was always a case of, you know, when the team was out in American Le Mans Series, Corvette were very welcoming to the competition. And I think especially with the 550 and then the DBR9 as well, they enjoyed the fact that they were up against the best from the UK. And you know, as drivers, we have friends in other camps, you have mates in other teams and manufacturers. But when you get on the track, the first person you always want to beat is your mate. So I think, you know, as a group of drivers, especially through that era of GT1, there was a lot of rivalry on track, but a lot of friendships off track. And yeah, it's great. You know, that period, I can remember 2005 when we had the first time with the DBR9 and we went to Sebring, first time there, and the week started off pretty slow. You know, we were struggling with the car balance and everything else, and as the track sort of rubbered up, and even come race day, I think we were still like not sure we were going to be in the race at all, and it just
It was a nervousness.
It was a nervousness, was that an apprehension?
It was a brand new car too, and we'd done all the testing and things kept breaking. So coming into the race, we were like fingers crossed. You're talking about Sebring.
Yeah,
and you're going to Sebring, which is a car killer. Let's be honest.
It's the bumpiest racetrack in the world, believe me. I mean,
it's like driving on corrugated iron. It really is.
But that competition we had, and we won. You know, first time out with the DBR9, and it was a fantastic victory, a surprise as well. And that momentum, you know, we just started from there, and it just got better and better. And you know, we had a couple of opportunities that didn't quite go in our favour in the first 2 years with the DBR9 at Le Mans in 05 and 06, but come 07 everything came right, and you know, it was a fantastic battle on track. Awful weather, a bit like we've had today sort of thing, but thankfully David was in the car in that last 2 hours and me and Ricky Rydell could just relax in the garage and watch David sort of play out and
watch
get
the torrential rain come down and everyone aquaplaning.
Yeah.
That was.
I remember that.
And I wasn't supposed to be driving. It was Rickard Rydell who was with us. He said, "I'm not driving in that weather. Someone else is going to have to do it." So I got the short straw.
There's a great image of that winning car from Rickard, Brabs and DT over at Neil Gardner, NG Auto Art, which he's managed to draw within the boundaries of the Le Mans circuit. It's an original over there. Go and have a look at it. It's absolutely superb. Brabs, of course, you came to this period after having won Le Mans overall. So what was it like?
No, before.
That was before? Of course it was, yes.
Yeah, so in 2007 and 8, Darren and I we won Le Mans with the Aston, with Prodrive, and then I obviously had the American Le Mans Series project with Acura, so I went back to that, and then got a surprise call to do Le Mans with Peugeot. That's right. Yeah.
That's right. In
2000.
What was it? 2002. When was the Peugeot?
Peugeot 2009.
9? Was it that late?
Yeah.
Good
So I was
heavens.
very fortunate to have won that one as well.
Yeah.
And have 3 wins on the trot. So that was a really unique period in my career. But also to share 2 wins with my mate Darren was even more special.
What was, in your memory then, what is your favourite Prodrive memory? Whether it's about a car, the development of a car, or something else away from the racetrack? I'll take Brabs first.
I think every time we beat Corvette. I mean, you got to think they are a monster organisation. The resources they have is as good as anyone. So to beat them on track, and actually sometimes I think we lapped them, didn't we? We lapped them once or twice. And part of that was we had Michelins, they had Goodyear, and Michelin was a really strong tyre at the time as well. And the following year they then went to Michelin, and then just increased the battle even more. So for me, the proud moment really was every time we beat them. And obviously, if you beat them, you won the race, put it that way.
Yeah, absolutely, in those days. Jonny, Adam?
Le Mans 2017. Yeah, again, Aston against Corvette with DT and Daniel Sierra. Definitely the highlight for me, and obviously quite an important win. Obviously, it was the last year of the Aston Vantage, that model. We developed around about that period the new Vantage that was the replacement for GTE. But yeah, that win was good. It meant so much to everyone. You know, everyone on the pit wall, everyone that worked so hard. We done quite a few events after that for Aston, just talking about Le Mans and the success. And when we delved into detail, we won on pit stops in effect. You know, we were so good in the pits. One of the best teams in and out of the pits with tyre change, fuel, and ultimately that is a collective from how Prodrive operate. You know, we dedicated so much time over that week on performance in the car, but also the stuff behind the scenes that makes a big difference. So definitely that is, you know, career highlight for me, but for sure that special moment within Prodrive for me.
Explain why Le Mans is Le Mans, Jonny.
It's just such an iconic, it's one of those races that you have so many people there. You know, you have 250,000 people. It's an atmosphere. It's an atmosphere you don't really get elsewhere. And it's one of the biggest races in the world. It's an iconic race. If you speak to a fan and you mention Le Mans, they'll start to realise how big a race it is, you know. And there's so many brands that do it, so many drivers want to achieve that race. And it's a hard fought race, as 24-hour races are, but definitely it's the pinnacle of our sports car calendar, you know.
You're not going to hear any argument from me on that, obviously. Darren, we'll finish up with you and your best memory of being part of Prodrive. Is it a Le Mans memory or is it something else?
No, I'm going to stick with Le Mans. I think. I'm sorry, I could make something up, but it's one of those things that is so special in any driver's career to even get to race at Le Mans, and also to do it with a brand like Aston Martin, and to be with the team with Prodrive there. It's so good. Like that whole week you're there, it's a magical journey. There's a lot of pressure, but if it's stand out, then I have to go. It's like actually 2007 and 2017. For various reasons, 2007 it was our first win, my first win there, in a great car, the DBR9 GT1. It's always going to be my favourite car. But 2017, everything was perfect in terms of the 3 drivers, me, Jonny and Daniel. We all got something significant from that race. It was the last, as Jonny said, it was the last year of that particular car. It won pretty much everywhere else in the World Endurance Championship, but hadn't had the winner at Le Mans. So it was I think for everyone at Prodrive, it was really important that we had that win there. And GTE that year was super competitive in Pro. I think there's 15 Pro cars there, great driver lineups. I was lucky enough to get the sort of the job of doing qualifying, so really happy I got to do that. And
no track limits for you there?
No. Finally, I learned a lesson and stayed within the track limits. But yeah, you know, I got to do qualifying, and we started on pole. But you know, the race ebbed and flowed all the way through. Daniel picked up a new lap record in the happy hour, like 5 a.m. in the morning. And then the end of that race with Jonny at the wheel and that titanic battle for the last sort of 40 odd minutes, wasn't it, I think? And Jonny sort of taking the lead as they came up to start the last lap. Just meant that 2017 was truly special, and I think for everyone that was there, drivers, the team, everyone, it was one of those things that was a bit of a, did that really happen? But yeah, it was superb. So yeah, there's definitely two. The 07, just because I love that car, that GT1 car, and 17 because it was just a magical race.
I miss the old GT1 cars, I have to say, the fire-breathing monsters. Ladies and gentlemen, thanks for being with us. We're going to have some more guests in a little while, but for the moment, will you please put your hands together and thank David Brabham, Jonny Adam and Darren Turner, part of the Prodrive family. Thank you very much, gentlemen.
But I also need to mention and remind everybody that if you want an autograph with any of these three gentlemen, that's